Hello everyone, this can be another video. This is going to be based around John 16. So, and I'm going to kind of go into like what peace means. Like, what does it mean to have the peace of God? What does it mean to like just know that God is with you every single step of every single day? That if you're walking in the purpose of God for your life, He's never going to leave you. He's never going to forsake you. He's going to be with you always. I'm just going to jump around in this chapter here, but so John 16:22. So with you now is your time of grief, but I will see you again, and you will rejoice, and no one will take away your joy. In that day you will no longer ask me anything. Very truly I tell you, my Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. Until now you have not asked for anything in my name. Ask and you will receive, and your joy will be complete. Verse 27. No, the Father himself loves you because you have loved me, and have believed that I came from God. I came from the Father and entered the world. Now I am leaving the world and going back to the Father. Then Jesus' disciples said, Now you are speaking clearly without figures of speech. Now we can see that you know all things and that you do not need to have anyone ask you questions. This makes us believe that you came from God. Do you now believe? Jesus replied. A time is coming, and in fact has come, when you will be scattered, each to your own home. You will leave me all alone, yet I am not alone, for my Father is with me. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome this world. Kind of getting into my personal experience recently. Like, I think it was actually last night. I was really struggling with sleeping. And it was because I was so fearful on a certain thing in my life. Like a certain thing that I was praying for. I was so afraid that, I would not get that, or I would get it, or whatever whatever it was, you know what I mean? I'm not going to get personal in that, but, I was so fearful because the truth was I was scared. I didn't trust God, I saw the storm, and I was running to God, and instead of rejoicing in his presence, I was telling him all the things he had to do for me, all these things that was just being revealed to me by fear, because I was so afraid of like living a life. I was so afraid of pain, of having pain again. I was afraid of having pain, that I wasn't trusting God and his words and his promises, not only in his Bible, but in like my life too. I've seen God do things that I can't explain. I can't sit here and give you an explanation, because the truth is there is no explanation. It's only God. And the reason that we struggle times is because we don't trust God. Like, we see the storms come, and it's roaring and it's thundering, and we are like sheep. We're sheep, and we get scared because there's nothing we can do. We can't, all we can do is have faith in our God, our Father, to remove the storms. And sometimes he doesn't always remove the storms, because he wants you to know that he is with you through the storms. Even in your struggles, he is with you, So, and that's like in Matthew 14, or I think, yeah. No, it's not Matthew 14. It's Matthew 8. Then he got into the boat, and his disciples followed him. Suddenly a furious storm came on the lake, so that the waves swept over the boat. But Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him, saying, Lord, save us, we are going to drown. He replied, You have little faith, why are you so afraid? Then he got up, rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, What kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him. And that's something I have a shirt on that, which is super cool. But it's like, God is in control of everything. And I struggle with trust all the time. Even though I've seen God's hand in my life with this podcast, with everything that I'm doing on YouTube, like, I still struggle with faith. I still struggle with trying to, have the perfect faith. I still struggle with, trusting God, because I don't see everything. He sees everything. His ways are higher than my ways. His thoughts are higher than my thoughts. And, the reason for our struggles is that as human beings, we want to be self-reliant. We want everything to come at the time that we want it to come. We want to work for things and things to happen as a result of our work. But God's timing is different. His ways are higher. And it says in Proverbs, in the heart of man establishes his plans, but the Lord establishes his steps. So here's the thing. You can have plans. You can wander off on your path, but Lord establishes your steps. And sometimes we want to rush to a certain end of that race. We want to run the race and basically sprint it. We want to get to the end of the race as soon as possible. Actually, no, not even the end of the race. We want to get to a certain part of the race where our prayers are answered, because the truth is we aren't being truly satisfied by Jesus. We're just focused on being satisfied by what we want. And like in John 16 here, what Jesus is talking about, like he says, asking you will receive, and your joy will be complete. This does not mean that everything that you ask will be given to you, because a father does not give snakes to his children. What you may be asking for may not be in the will of God. He's talking to the disciples, because at this point Jesus knows that the disciples, for the most part, like, yes, they do scatter, but like, and even he talks about this, like, do you now believe? Like, but he's talking about a new relationship between a believer and God, that anything you ask in Christ's name, he will give you. It may not be in your timing. It may not be in your ways. Heck, honestly, it's best to keep these prayers broad, because when you pray for a certain specific thing and you don't get that thing, and you wonder why God wouldn't give you a certain thing, but you don't even realize that God prevented things from happening because it was what was best for you. You honestly get frustrated at God. You don't think that God is in control. And I'm talking about this from my personal experiences, my struggles, when I've prayed for specific things and things haven't happened the way I wanted. But I look back and I'm like, thank God it didn't happen. Thank God those things I prayed for didn't happen, because I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't be the man I am now. But take heart, Jesus says, I have overcome the world. God is in control. He controls the winds and the waves. Sometimes the storms look big and they're scary, and sometimes we can't control everything. The part of following God is a surrender of self-reliance. You're no longer reliant on yourself. You're completely and fully dependent on God for everything that you need. Now, you may work your job, but God has provided that job for you. You may have money stored up in the bank, but God has provided that money for you. You see, everything that you have, when you start to follow God, you realize that God has provided everything for you. Every single thing. And we get scared because we look at it as our things, as things that we've done, but in reality, we haven't done anything. Because every single day, we didn't wake up on our own strength. We woke up because God woke us up, and his grace, his mercy is new every day. We don't draw breath every single day because of what we've done. We draw breath because of God and how he breathes life into us. He has given us life and breath in our lungs, man. And it's so easy to get overwhelmed by the storms, man. And I felt led to this because the truth is, I struggle with fear all the time. I struggle with trusting God. And, my thing with this, I'm trying to be real. I'm not trying to be someone that's just trying to get preachy at you. I'm just trying to walk with people and people to understand me. And in my struggles, people can see God, in me. They can see the love of Christ in me, and I can strive to love people the best I can. Yeah, I'm not perfect. I screw up every day, but the grace of God is so renewing and so fulfilling. Take heart, because God has overcome the world, man. So when you're fearful, or you're struggling, or you don't know what God's going to do, or you're scared, take heart. God's overcome the world. This life is so temporary, so we can fear the temporaries of this life, but let's put security and stock in our eternal lives, man. Where we're going, where we're heading, to meet Jesus, spend eternity with him. All right, that's gonna be another one of my episodes. So thank you guys.